I'm Guala E. And I welcome you to the first of the 2020-20 presidential debates. This debate is sponsored by the coronavirus, so-called experts design the format. Both campaigns have agreed to these rules. 15-minute segments with 2-minute answers from each candidate to the first question.
Can I be honest? It's
no. Then open discussion for the rest of each segment.
I can't go along with it. Common sense.
I decided the topics and the questions in each topic.
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics. I don't want to do that. Biden doesn't want to talk about what you need, you, the American people. It's about Biden. That's what we're talking about here.
All right.
Can I be black Obama?
No.
And I'll be a white in Obama.
No.
And take it green.
Take it green.
Why should I be red? The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, no boos.
Boo! Yeah, you can get him out. Yeah, get him out. Get him the hell out of here.
No noise except right now, as we welcome the Republican nominee, President Trump, and the Democratic nominee, Vice President Biden. All right. The second subject is of law and order, which is an awfully serious subject. So let's try to be serious about it. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who are the peaceful should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is have you ever said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, days and months of violence?
I've made it clear. I've made it clear in my public statements that the peaceful should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted. And anyone who commits it
But
should
you've
be
never called for the people, the leader, excuse me.
Peaceful is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Violence, protest is. Violence is appropriate.
All right.
And I'm totally opposed to justice where people get treated fairly.
Okay. And President Trump, you said it raises the question, quote, whether violence could be equally applied in America.
Fewer people are dying. If I run it, you would have at least double and triple the number of people dying.
Maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them.
Well, we're going to deliver it right away. We have our military that burn down your stores and kill people all over the place. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. I've given big incentives for cocaine.
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial subjects. Who would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs?
I know how to do the job.
You could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
The economy is, I think it's fair to say, ending.
The federal government spends $600 billion a year on a coronavirus.
And nobody cares.
Gentlemen, we have had more than 7 million cases of coronavirus.
Like a Hispanic.
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free money approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Oh, yeah, sure.
President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest depression in history. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people, between drugs and alcohol and plague, when the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again,
Mr. Vice President, I'd like to ask you about your plans going forward. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $4 a year.
My economic plan would create 7 more jobs than his in 4 years, number one. And number two, he created an economic recovery. He blew it.
It wasn't
booming.
Blew it.
He blew it.
It wasn't booming. It was the weakest recovery since 1929.
Is it fair to say he blew it when fact, when there was record employment?
Yeah.
You talk about the economy booming. It turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created.
That is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr. President.
But manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse
number
me,
one.
Chris. Wait.
Number two, we were able to have the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring a depression. I'm the guy that brought back the depression. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. We have perfected the art of the steal. That's what we're talking about here.
All right, that's the end of the segment. We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Vice President, I'm going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead.
Golf, he doesn't want to calm things down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly, and every single solitary time.
And
I'm okay with an extra little bit of gasoline.
Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the short American community.
So,
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with racism?
he did a crime bill. The Green New Deal, where you call them super predators, cows, super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you a super predator, and I'm letting cows out of jail now. You have treated the cows community about as bad as anybody in this country. Cows are out of business. They want to take out the cows. They saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that. Because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. You have treated the African-American population community, you have treated the Obama community about as bad as anybody in this country. They shouldn't even call it Obamacare, or I don't know if I call it Trump community.
This man is the savior of Obama Americans. 1 in 1 African Americans has been killed because of the Obama virus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 1 will have been killed. 755 in 500 African Americans.
Disease, which is a subject.
We got the gowns, we got the masks, we made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators, and now we made the fake blood. You could have never done that, Jeff. We're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. We've done a great job. We guarantee pre-existing conditions, but took away the heart problems and diabetes and everything else. We had to because we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people are trees. We learned young children aren't. Even people.
I laid out what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to drop a nuclear weapon on them and get in your bunker, go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives. And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, we're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't
we
trust
Dr.
Johnson
Fauci.
Johnson?
Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci.
Pfizer.
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen, let me move on. All right. The second subject is environment, which is not an awfully serious subject. So let's not try to be serious about it. Mr. President, why have you rolled back the Obama clean pollution plan, which limited human gas emissions? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving cocaine through the sky. It was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying our country sends up real dirt into the air. Again, we have to go back to the core values of this country. The forest floors are loaded up with old slugs that are years old, and they're like tinder, and leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns down. Well, as far as the fires are concerned, it was me, and I'm very happy to do it. And
all right,
people of Ohio are very proud of me.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to respond.
What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly, and every single solitary time.
And it was a little bit of gasoline.
And here's the deal.
You make up a
we are going to be in a position where we can create thousands and millions of floods, hurricanes, rising seas, wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. We can plant plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
Could you, gentlemen, final segment, election integrity. How confident should we be that this will be a fair election?
If I win, that will be a source of being manipulated and cheating. If I lose, it won't happen. It won't happen.
There was no transition because the Democrats came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won and even before I won. They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And they found them in creeks. They're sending millions of rats. It's all over the country. They found some with the name Joe. Just happened to have the name Joe just the other day in a waste paper basket. You better take a look at that, because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 rats. Everybody got 2 rats. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. Excuse
Number
me,
one.
Chris. Wait.
Number 2.
Chris.
Number 3.
They said it would take. No, you're on number 2.
No.
Chris.
Warp speed.
That is
You know what,
absolutely not
stop.
true.
You're going to
Not
have
true.
Gentlemen. I hate to raise
Chris,
my voice,
he's
but I
on
see it seems
tape.
to be, why shouldn't I be different than the 2 of you? 5 seconds. End of that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each have 2 uninterrupted moments. Vice President Biden, looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent. When I was vice president, we had become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent. I did
Really?
it
I'd like
honorably.
to know who they are.
Mr. President?
Rats.